So, hi and welcome. This is the the February edition of the Partnership Engagement Forum, and that's way too. There we go. Brill. So we usually do a bit of a check-in, however, with numbers and trying to keep it to time. If people want to put in the chat what you've achieved so far this year, and we'll touch back on it at the end of the meeting. So in terms of hub stats and where we are. It's been a busy last month. The numbers dropped over December, obviously Christmas silly season type of thing. But again, we're in triple figures in terms of referrals, and it's getting higher. So where we currently are at the moment, the red line that you see on your screen is the national average. There's around 52 cases on the national average, and we're currently exceeding doubling that. So far, we have 1,564 people of referrals received into the hub. And like I said, I've outlined it on the screen in yellow where we currently are with numbers. I've just done a quick check for this month because we work a month behind. We are lower in the lower region. It's that kind of going back to normal, but you say that, touch wood, we don't have some sort of traumatic event. But last month we received 118 referrals, and this is a picture of a cumulative aspect from to date to where we are now. And then referrals by employer. I've organised these and we've changed our number of systems, the way we get our data. And we've also included primary care, broke it down in terms of instead of emergency services, it's actually each section has their own thing. So you've got MWAS on there, you've got the police on there as well. Anything under 5, like I said, we don't share that information because it's client confidentiality and clients could be seen from this, if you would. So at the current where we are at the moment, we have Liverpool University Hospitals and also Merseycare, the highest. Again, this is a cumulative picture. But then we've also bunched social care instead of local authorities. We've bunched social care together as one as well. And then we do have a category called missing. We still include these numbers in the data purely because of these are people who come through the hub, but they've not filled in where they currently work. So as we break it down by referrals for the month, Merseycare was the highest one with 24 referrals, and then St Helens and Knowsley following with 12, Liverpool University Hospitals with 10, the Countess of Chester with 8, Alderhay with 6, Cheshire and Merseyside Police Service, we have 5, Wirral University Teaching Hospitals, we have 5, and again, there are 5 people from that aspect who haven't filled the information in. So we've broken it down by roles again, and as you can see on your screen, the impact for nurses is quite high. We can't pinpoint it to exactly what it is, but one of the big factors is the strikes that are currently happening, people picking up extra stuff. Like I said, we can't pinpoint it, but we have a fair understanding that it is that that's the issue. But then again, training nurses and midwives are always high on the referral list as well. So we've got non-clinical support, care assistants, other specific roles, qualified trainee doctor and consultants, AHPs, and then managers and senior leaders as well. We are seeing a number of managers come through the hub in terms of systemic referrals. And this is good for it's a good aspect for us because everything we do in terms of outreach links to, say, a team aspect as well. So people are coming through for team support, and the managers, senior leaders as well, are also coming for one-to-one support as well. Relationship support. So this is where we currently are with Relate. I don't have the available data for January. But I need to mention now that we have stopped taking referrals for Relate for the time being. We are working with NHS and Relate to get a package back in place. Previously, Relate have had the national contracts and then it become more localized. So we paid relate out of our budget, and we're just waiting to understand the budget constraints of where we currently are and get a package back in place. But the numbers in terms of cases per month, for example, on an average basis, works out around 11.2 cases per month. Well, on over a 10-month period. Like I said, I'm just awaiting the details for January, but we know that we exceeded the relationship support package that was in place, and we've currently got a bit of a waiting list for people at the moment. Where have people gone outwards? So a lot of these people have come. What we tend to do is we look to local services. So in terms of going outwards, we've had 17 relationship support cases, 9 pathway supports. So that could be around housing, debt, finance, social engagement type of thing, anything non-clinically related. And these have gone to our third sector partners. A lot of the numbers of the higher top, so managers, midwives, other clinical roles, non-clinical roles, have gone to IAPT services as well, and that's increasing access to psychological therapies, so more local services around. I have been working with organisation CQC teams and sent out lots of information to clinical leads as well. And I started with Merseycare, which was the highest, and I sent over 600 emails out to people, to managers, clinical leads, and I'm currently doing this with other organisations too, to get our service out there more, if you would. We're also starting on a range of service user videos. People coming through the hub telling their story. We're going to be getting them recorded and actually put them online as well, and start a bit of a showcase, if you would, of kind of like I've been there, I've done that, got the t-shirt and so on type of thing. But that then brings us on to partner updates. So I will stop sharing my screen. Go. Smash in. And there's not actually that many people joined. Sorry, I couldn't see anybody, so I do apologise behind the scenes. Ben, I'll come to you about any specific updates.
Where are we? Sorry, I'm just making notes as we go here. Sorry, Lee.
No, you're all right. If you need any further information after, let me know and I'll send it out as well.
Yeah, no, just the Merseycare centric stuff I'm really interested in terms of what our referral activity looks like, etc. So for us at the moment, financial wellbeing, I think, remains kind of top of the agenda in terms of how we are developing the offer. By all accounts, we seem to be doing quite a lot in Merseycare in comparison to other organisations. As some of you are aware, we've commissioned the Citizens Advice Bureau, which we've managed to secure funding for another 12 months. That offers signposting support, triage systems around housing, relationships, financial difficulties, debt, budgeting, etc. And we've got some real nice data that kind of evidences the impact and the benefit of having them there, where staff have been able to recuperate or recover finances that they didn't know they were eligible for, etc., through debt and consolidation of bills, utility costs, etc. So that's something that's really, really positive. I'm also working on a national group with NHS employers at the moment about how we start to really streamline that offer, with the view that you've got lots of different organisations that are going out separately to commission the CAB. I'm going to say there's different unit costs, there's a different offer. We're saying, look, if we all join our heads together, we can really help each other out in terms of that learning. So where I may have stumbled or experienced challenge, how do we help other organisations to overcome that and really start to share a best practice model, which I think is really beneficial. To really understand that diagnostic of the financial wellbeing issue, I'm doing something called a financial needs assessment, which is a series of questions that talks to staff about their financial situations. So it talks about benefits that they might be currently on, whether or not they can afford to get to work, whether or not they're struggling to heat the house, whether or not they're struggling to pay mortgages, just general debt, etc., clothe the kids. It asks some pretty sensitive questions, but I think we've got to really get that data to start to inform what this is going to look like moving forward. My biggest concern around the financial wellbeing offer, and I'm just going to say, this has become part of a health and wellbeing agenda. Now it's done so without any additional resource or investment, and it's massive. And also what we're doing, I suppose, is, I don't want to put too much on the government, but we need to be mindful that we don't recreate a benefit system in a workplace. There's a recognition that there's in-work poverty, but it shouldn't be down to the employer to support some of these things. So I'm talking to organisations this morning where they're offering hardship funds for up to £250 per person, which is great. But then I'm kind of saying, but then what? What is it that we're doing? And is it right that staff are coming to us for some of these things? You've got organisations that are establishing pantries internally. Now, we've already got pantries in the community that are CIC, social enterprises. They are absolutely designed and developed to support staff in need of that. So I think we need to get a little bit better at linking into what other services are in the system, and how do we make sure that NHS are included in what that offer looks like. So I'd hope that the financial needs assessment goes live within the next couple of weeks. I'm not holding my breath because whilst it's probably my priority at the moment, I recognise it's not everybody's. And I suppose that's always going to be where health and well-being the issue can lie. Whilst it's my priority, I'm working in an organisation of multiple priorities, be it massive organisational change, be it staff who are absolutely burnt out. So we're trying to manage and support all them other aspects of health in addition to to just financial, I suppose. Good news is we've got no, we haven't. I've got 3 health and wellbeing facilitators in post that are offering a range of different services to staff. And we've got some that specialise in the likes of menopause, women's health, some that are kind of taking a lead on food and nutrition, alcohol awareness, weight management, and some that offer more of that kind of psychological support through training. Use the word resilience very lightly, but looking at how we reduce stress, about we identify triggers, reduce exposure to triggers and all them things. So it's great to have a team because I used to do this all on my own. So quite a positive time at the moment. And I think it's just about watch this space. What I recognise is that we need a strategy and we need a vision and we need commitment, because what I am seeing is that this agenda will grow overnight, and I think we've got to really safeguard what our offer is and make sure there's clear definition and parameters into what we can and what we can't do. And obviously we've got to have our exec buy-in to really endorse and champion all that, but also I've got to be able to push back when someone's saying, why aren't you doing this? And I want to say, well, it's not in the strategy. If you want it, it's going to be in addition to, and this is what we need. But at the moment, you don't really have that ability to push back, because we're all being busy fools. And I don't mean that we're all foolish. It's just we're not using our time in the best way. And sometimes we're not taking that strategic approach on things because we're operating from that reactive kind of seat, as opposed to someone who's trying to get in front and ahead of the curve. But we're trying.
I think it's that precautionary aspect, isn't it? It's prevent rather than cure. And I think a lot of us have worked in that reactionary aspect in terms of, let's say, the finance aspect. Because I know we started doing it. We started looking into the CAB, money pension service, everything like that, where it was just reactionary. Now we need to be actually stabilising to say, this is where we currently are, this is what we need to do. So I totally understand.
In the Liverpool language, Lee, I don't just want to be working with staff who are wobbling. I want to be working with staff who are high functioning, who are boss, who are really flying in work. And it's about how do we maintain that? And that would be a lovely place to be in. I'm a blue sky thinker, I'm aspirational, but you start taking your eye off the ball of these teams who are high performing, and very, very quickly they end up at the bottom of the pile because everyone thinks they're doing all right.
This is it. There is the mental health and wellbeing agenda continuous, isn't it? Because it's viewed in a negative light, but actually turning that negative into a positive, and streamlining that. But Brill, thanks, Ben. It sounds like you're rather busy over in Merseycare.
And I've got loads of annual leave to get rid of as well. And my wife's just started a new job.
It's the same, yeah, it's the same all over. Brill, thanks, Ben. Appreciate that. Sue or Alison? Well, I'll come to Sue first for social care update, and then I'll come to Alison to tie in with that.
So Alison and I work on a lot of projects simultaneously. Skills for Care and Health Education England do a lot of work together, but obviously there are things that we do separately too. Great to see social care in there, Lee. I know we had some discussions, didn't we, initially about social care, and I'd love to. I don't even know whether you could do this or whether you would be allowed to know where some of those organisations are, or whether it's care homes, whether it's home care, whether it's what those kind of social care organisations were, so we could try to do a little bit of targeted work with that, if you're able to kind of drill down to that information.
I don't think we can. We can drill down to a certain level, but in terms of actual organisations, because if so, our parameters, if they're under 5, we can't disclose that information even to the organisation, because what our thing is, we're confidential. We don't tell managers, HR leads, that sort of stuff. So we can drill down to a level in specific areas, but we can't say this organisation in Warrington, for example. We'd say the Warrington area
Right.
has so many.
Okay.
So it's how we deplete that data and how we get it. But yeah, because of the confidential aspect, we can't utilize that and say Sandra over at Mollington's, for example, and so on and so on. So, but I'll link with you outside of this meeting to tell you where.
That'd be really helpful. I think that the offer of the resilience hub, as you know, you came and spoke to our nurses, didn't you, within the social care sector, and the offer of the resilience hub was very new to them. So we can kind of go over that again today. So we've got our meeting today, so we'll go over that again today, because social care is so under the cosh. That everybody talks about recovery, and social care is still actually in the thick of everything that's going on. So I'll put that offer out again, but we're doing some work essentially with the nurses in the social care area at the moment around upskilling, CPD offers, all of that kind of thing that we can offer them free. They don't get any kind of assistance, do they, with their CPD? So we're working with one of our unis and one of our academies to put a package together for them. So hopefully next time we attend, we'll be able to drill that down a little bit more for you. We're still kind of filling in some of the blanks around that, but that's a huge piece of work, and it's new. It's not been done before. So fingers crossed that goes well, and that should help.
What you're saying there, we've been asked by one of the chiefs in Merseycare to do some like kind of CPD type things, and we're looking into a range of different videos. So I'll link with you and I'll let you know about where we are.
Yeah, hold off and link in with us, because there's no point recreating the wheel, is there? If we've already done a lot of the work to find out what they want and things. So just, I'm off next week, Lee, but let's link in when I get back.
No,
and
definitely, that's fine. I'm just looking at the list here because I had a meeting last night. It was kind of endless about what they was asking, and because it's only me within the team who does this, it's weeks, months worth of work, and it's like how long they need it type of thing. But I'll definitely link in with you.
Send it to me, because I'm looking to what we're doing is putting a year-long program in place. We're funding this for a year, so link in when I come back.
No, definitely will do. Thanks for that, Sue. Appreciate it. Alison, over to you from Skills for Care.
Okay, I don't know what people know about Skills for Care, but I guess I didn't know I was going to be saying at this meeting. I thought it'd be one of those meetings I can go and just listen, So I'm mentally
as long as you
unprepared.
want, or it can be as short as you want. It's just
Well,
basically an update.
just to make people aware, really, that we have a wellbeing resource finder. As we know, social care is very diverse, lots of small organisations, so it's quite hard to encapsulate the social care workforce, really, lots of different roles. So I guess what we try and do is, as Sue says, we do a lot of joint work with Health Education England, and support one another with that. But we do have a wellbeing resource finder for social care, which we share with our social care employers, and that basically you can go in and sort of drill down to who you're looking for support for in terms of health and wellbeing, and it will just signpost you to resources. So anything that I suppose anybody thinks is good to add into that, or if anybody wants to look at that. And then just quickly, a couple of things that actually have been today and yesterday. And Health Education England, again, I'm sure is involved with this, but the Active Cheshire Partnership across Cheshire and Merseyside, they're looking to pilot some stuff around physical health, aren't they? So we're supporting them to get a social care voice in that and trying to get them to think about, where social care fits. And I'm sort of not lobbying them quite, but it's one of those things. And Sue and I are constantly saying, what about social care? When you go onto a website and they say, oh, there's loads of resources on there. And then it says, this is a resource for NHS staff. And, it's really difficult because we have to be selective about where we signpost people to, because if they can't access it, it's almost more demoralizing than not even seeing it. Fortunately, the Resilience Hub has been a real godsend because it's something that our social care staff can access, which they're really, really positive
Do
about.
you know what? I find with social care are the worst in terms of, say, freebies. So the NHS staff love pens and stress balls, but social care, anything. They'll come to you,
Anything.
and they'll, oh, we'll take that. So every time I do a social care outreach, I have to take extra stuff just to make sure
Yeah.
they've got enough to cover the base.
Yeah, they're so starved of stuff. That's why it is.
Yeah, this is it.
And the only other thing that I thought it might be useful to mention is I ended up at a sort of a wellbeing event on Wednesday, which was about wellbeing for home care staff, and it was all about research into things like burnout amongst the sort of home care staff population. But there were some really interesting things in there, and you're probably aware of it, but there's a website called resilienceresource.co.uk. And I thought that was really good. It had lots of kind of bite-sized activities you could do. So if you've got 1 minute, click here, and here's an activity. If you've got 5 minutes, click here. So that was just one of the things that jumped out really. But there's loads of presentations. So if anybody's interested in that, they're shareable.
Yeah. I'll pop it
But
in the minutes and pop the link in. We utilise them in terms of our workshops and whatnot, trying to break it down in terms of an hour session to a 30-minute session to a 15-minute and so on and so on. So to meet people's needs. Bro,
yeah,
thanks, Alison.
yeah. So those are mine. Thank you.
Smashing. I'll pop the link in the minutes once we send them out as well. We have Keely Jane, and I just also want to say hello to Kate. Kate is a newbie to the group. She is from NWAS. And nice representation for the ambulance staff. So, Jane, I'll come to you if you want to give an update.
Yeah, just briefly. So first of all, just to say hello to Cherie, who's a previous colleague of mine from many years ago, back in London.
Jane,
so
hi.
a lovely surprise.
That's lovely to see you.
Yeah,
I didn't
lovely.
recognise you properly on that little tiny screen. Oh, it's amazing to see you.
And also deeply unflattering light in here, Rob. That's my excuse anyway. It's a really lovely surprise to see you. So at Luft, in staff support, we continue to be busy. We're looking at introducing a group approach as part of our programme, specifically a group programme on switching off, which is one of the big themes that we've noticed coming through. Our psychology service has also been represented at site-specific staff wellbeing days, where we've kind of sat alongside blood pressure checks and all those kind of things, and that's felt like quite a good opportunity. I'm not sure there's very much else to add at the moment. I think those are probably the main themes from us.
No problem. I am linking with Sam as well, and Sam said she'll send some information for the next stuff as well. I could put that in the meeting in the minutes as well.
Brilliant, great.
Well, thanks, Jane. Keely, I will come to you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. For those who don't know me, I work for MIA and we're part of Luft, so hosted by Luft, so that's Liverpool University Hospitals. And we support a range of NHS, local authority and third sector with a range of different programmes and projects across several different regions. And I thought I'd just bring it to this group's attention, with it being around health and wellbeing, a couple of the projects that we've worked on recently. Some of you on the call are already aware of one of them at the least. I'll just quickly, am I allowed to share, or?
Of course you can, if you've got access. I'm not too sure how.
Don't know if I've got access.
I can pop it, so I can, if you send it to me, because we record it, I'll pop it in the video, so it'll be on screen as well.
So what I'll share across with Lee is we've worked on a pilot for NHSEI, which was commissioned to support primary care networks in regards to producing a directory of what's available in the local areas. Now, 5 of the primary care networks across Cheshire and Merseyside opted into this pilot. So we did a hyper-localised directory for them. But then what we realised is actually we're collecting a list of national offers and regional offers, including the Resilience Hub. So we made one that was national and regional as well, available for the whole of Cheshire and Merseyside. So that was in the form of a slide deck. So that's now on NHS Futures. So I'll send that over to Lee if anyone wants to have that after the meeting, that's fine. What I've also been working on recently as part of my health and wellbeing champion role is I was approached by someone called Danny Woodworth. He is part of MSP, which is Merseyside Sports. They are one of the partners on the All Together Active physical activity strategy for health and social care, part of the ICS. So one of their projects is to do an annual NHS Games event for NHS staff, and one of them, which is for all the different inter-trust games, is like football, netball, range of different activities over the summer months. Now, subsequent years, previous years, the football has always been male dominated. We've not had one female team entered in all the years it's been running. And you think with the, winning the Euros, there'd be a little bit more interest, or so we're trying to understand what's the barriers of entry. Is it confidence? Is it the fact that they've not got experience? Why is not one women's team entered? MIA last year, we recruited a team of women. We were all good to go, various ages, abilities, and psyching everyone up. Come on, we can do it. And then went to speak to Danny to say we've got a team to submit, and there was nobody else. So he contacted me about a month ago and said, do you know, you said this is what I'd probably do next year. Could you help us? So I've spoken to MIA, and as part of my health and wellbeing role, I've joined the steering group. The meeting's next week. I've designed a poster, and the poster is a picture of the girls I play football with. So it's very relatable, rather than, some 20-year-old spring chickens running around who look fit as fiddles. So that's on the poster with a QR code. And the QR code takes you to a video of the football team that I play with. A couple of the girls talking about why they play football. One, it was because she was getting married and wanted to get fit. Another one is she had 2 children and she wanted to, get fit because she'd just had 2 babies. And then another one, it was about mental health. She's made some friends because of it. I think, Ben, you might have been approached by Tashi, who's one of the governors.
I was just typing it then.
Yeah, so Tashi's one of the governors at Mersey. Is it Merseyside? She's a governor. I know she's linked to a lot of trusts, volunteer. So she's helping me as well. I know she's not well at the minute, but she's helping and supporting this. So what does it mean? What's the result of it? So the vision is we're going to do a survey. We've got the steering group meeting with the HR and OD leads next week, just so we can test the appetite of what's possible. So what I mean by that is, we're looking to potentially set up some training hubs across places based on appetite, so people can try some free sessions, because what we're assuming, but we'll get the survey evidence, is that people are maybe nervous because they've never done it before. There's maybe a bit of stigma. So once we've got those survey results, it'll help direct us what we think intuitively is already happening. Then we can start to build that with local clubs, and we've already got some interest. So any support from anyone on this call who think that they have any ideas or could lend any support or help, we're doing this voluntarily as MIAs, as just part of what we'd like to bring to the system and support. But if anyone else wants to support, just please feel free to get in touch with me, and I'll share Lee with the posters once the meeting's finished, so everyone's got sight of them.
Perfect. I want to let you into a little secret as well. I am trying to tap up one of the Lionesses to come on the podcast. So it could be a great little insight into getting the NHS women's team going. Alison, I've just seen your question in the chat. Is this NHS staff only? It is, and Ben's just responded there, it is Active Cheshire and Merseyside Sports. So I think the remit, because of the integration of the ICB, I think it should include, but I'll double check that for you. I don't want to say yes or no because it's not my remit. And also, Keely, you just stole my update for Danny. I have it on screen here about all the games, and I'll include all of that sort of stuff as well. I am mindful of time, and we do have Sophie and Rachel. So I'll come to you two, and then we have a special guest, like I said, Shri Devi is coming to talk to us and give us a bit of an insight into her world. Kate, this, like I said, this is a bit of an update from partners. Obviously, you're doing post. Do you just want to introduce yourself to the team and just let people know who you are?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, it's great to be here. So my name is Kate Moss and I am the Staff Engagement and Wellbeing Manager for North West Ambulance Service. I was new in post back in December and I've just caught up and met with Lee last week and he's forwarded me the meeting invites and things. So yeah, just still finding my feet in the role and all the wonderful things that MWAS already has in terms of health and wellbeing. But yeah, it's great to be here and hearing what everyone's up to. Yeah, so thank you.
Cheers, Kate. Thank you. And at the meetings, what we do is just give a bit of an update. So I won't put you on the spotlight today. Sophie, over in Mid Cheshire, how are you?
Hello. Sorry about that.
All right.
Yeah, our attention's kind of been taken over by the strikes, to be perfectly honest, for the last couple of weeks, maybe month. Bit of a relief, can I say that they've been postponed for next week because it was getting really stressful with the derogated services that we were trying to support. But besides that, our focus still remains on financial well-being, similar to Ben. We've not done as much, but we do have a financial well-being leaflet with all support in. But we are finding that staff, maybe it's not going down very well with staff. So we've decided to do some sort of drop-in sessions where we ask staff what they want rather than just giving them what we think they need. So what we're looking to do as the first sort of thing is look to take away the what's it called? The minimum spends on card in our canteens and stuff, which I actually think, Lee, you might have mentioned to me a couple of months ago. But it was a really good point, and it is something we're looking at. It's something that's been fed back from our colleagues that, you know, promoting sort of financial services is really good, but it kind of needs to start the trust on what we can do, like small wins. So that's the first thing we're looking at doing.
No, I appreciate that. I did a session over at Mid Cheshire and I wanted a toasted tea cake, and I think they were trying to charge me £2.50 or something I had to spend minimal, and so I sent Sophie an email being nice but not kicking off, just to clarify to everybody. Brilliant, thanks Sophie. Rachel, I'll come to you.
Hello, everyone. You were probably thinking, gosh, she's been quiet for a change. But you were all gutted when I came on the call. But you were like, oh, no, not here again.
Stop selling yourself short.
So what have we been doing? So Time to Talk Day in February, we did a formal launch of our new trauma-informed service. We've got a consultant psychologist who leads that service, Dr. Emma Evans, and she's a trauma specialist. And we have started to develop the team under that with our wellbeing coaches and the support that they offer at the different levels for mental wellbeing. So some exciting things happened there and some exciting things happening moving forward. And then we've got on Friday, this sounds like it's a bit odd bringing it here, but a great day for inclusion at Liverpool Women's Hospital. And the reason I'm mentioning it at this, one of our guest speakers is actually from a local community dance group that does stuff around different protected characteristic children predominantly. And some of you may be familiar with his work, Miguel DeForo, MD Creatives. And he's coming along and he's doing, we recognise everyone learns differently, so it's not all speaking. So him and his dance group are actually coming along. Some of the children have been released from school, some of them have disabilities, from different backgrounds, and we're looking to do some exercise stuff with him moving forward. I just need to find some funding for it, but that's going to be really exciting here as we start to promote our other pillar of wellbeing work that we're looking at, which is around physical fitness and nutrition. We've got a walking and running club, so we're really promoting that wider as well. And then we are doing a lot around No Smoking Day, not just for our patients, and because of obviously the NHS needs to become smoke free. So that's on the 8th of March, and we've got a load of packs and loads of stuff to help people stop smoking, gums, etc., that we're going to have in every single staff room, and we're going to have a stall out as well for our patients and visitors to make use of. And we've got quite a load of things. I've done my calendar for 23-24. I'd be happy to share it with anybody. I cover obviously EDI and wellbeing, so I'd be happy to share that calendar, and it splits out which area. In fact, if you want me to, I'll circulate it to the group about how we're planning to tee things up here at Liverpool Women's for the next 12 months. Feel free to steal with pride.
I'll share it out to people.
Yeah, and if anyone wants anything from me, just let me know. But one of the other things, the reason I had my hand up earlier, I think, was it Keely who spoke? I've got a contact that's one of my friends actually plays football. Well, he doesn't anymore. He's a football manager for one of the teams, lower level teams, not something too exciting, but he's from the Toxteth area. And I don't know if you're familiar with Nikita Parrish. She's one of the Lionesses, and it links with what you were saying, Lee. I'm trying to get hold of her through Man United and through their contact, who's my friend, because she's a local girl from Toxteth, and she actually started out her own football club because there wasn't a female football club. I can see Keely nodding her head away. She's actually very instrumental in the local Cheshire Mersey area. And I just think, this is someone who started her own team because she wasn't allowed to play football at a league level because there wasn't any women's teams. So she started her own team with her family. I know some of her family members are very talented professionals. I think one of them's a boxer, professional boxer. So, it'd be really good if I can really pin her down at some point to share across Cheshire Mersey. I'm sure there will be a cost element to her, which we won't be able to afford at Liverpool Women's on our own, but maybe something we could do with this group.
The NHS, pull the heartstrings, it works.
But maybe something we can do through this group, well, wonderful to have and even if I can talk my friend into it, a male person from the local areas as well who has been successful, and actually both of them, neither of them are white. So they've got that added protected characteristic element and have done really well and have been really successful in what they do in their careers. So it'd be really nice to have a bit of a showcase. I'm sure if two of them, we can pin them down, and the person you've got, Lee, we might be able to snowball effect there.
Brill. Also,
me, I'm ambitious. I aim high. I got John Barnes in, didn't I, last year? So, 2 years ago, and then I've had a boxer in as well. So,
Jordan Henderson. Is it Jordan Henderson?
Yeah.
I did a session at a hospital, and Jordan Henderson was part of the campaign. So I keep tapping up the hospital. I'm like, hey, give us the details, type of thing.
I think Luft have had. Is there someone from Luft on this call? Because I think Luft have had a really good contact with Jordan Henderson. I know we went in there during COVID, so it might be worth contacting him.
She's just
and Alder Hay have really good contacts, don't they? With well, we use the boxer from Morecambe Bay, one who's a traveller.
I appreciate it. However,
Tyson Fury.
I need to move on. I'm really sorry, guys. We'll talk about that after. However, I need to move on because we've got a special guest here. Sridevi is coming to talk to us. She's all the way from London. I've given you access rights, so you're more than welcome. I just want to keep this meeting on track, you see.
Fantastic. Well, it's so brilliant to hear about all the amazing work you're doing. It's just really inspiring. And, so thank you. It's great to be part of this meeting, just to hear it all. So I'm just trying to share. I don't know if it's letting me share, actually. I've got access. Here we go. I think that should work. Okay. So these are your figures as an ICS. This is your number of staff. This is your absence rate. You've probably seen this, of course. This is per person. per individual staff member around absence, the amount it's costing. And overall, it's costing 152 million per year. This was 21-22 figures from the NHS England data and your own data. So that's the kind of equivalent of almost 5,000 staff being off work. Okay, so a massive amount of money there in your ICS that obviously it's all possible to improve that. So what I guess obviously I don't have very long. I mean, how long do I have actually, Lee? Let me just check in with you before I say like 5 minutes or something. Oh, 15. Okay, that's better. So I guess one of the things that I wanted to think about with you is just the most recent evidence, and it sounds like you're a really well informed group, of course. So obviously we've seen the levels of burnout of staff. You know, we just, I think it was Ben mentioned that earlier. That's obviously increased. Even before COVID, it was an issue, and obviously through COVID and afterwards, it's become even more of an issue. We've had seen the rates of PTSD, anxiety, depression, all of these go up. You know, substance misuse, alcohol in particular. And the issue is that there's so much of it that's just undiagnosed, and individuals themselves might not recognize it either, that these issues are happening. What they'll be doing, they'll be struggling, they'll be finding that things are just harder. That comes out in different ways, and there are sort of some maladaptive coping strategies sometimes that have been then employed, and then they become an issue too. You know, so like the alcohol, for example, is one of them, or overeating is another big one that people do. And so there's something there about how do we identify, how do we get people to come forward? And of course, you know, the Wellbeing Hub Lee that you've been running is brilliant in terms of getting people into that. But of course, still, people have to recognise that there's something going on for them and they have to be brave to come forward. I think your stories are a brilliant idea in terms of breaking down some of that stigma and showing just everyday people they know are benefiting, you know, to come forward. Ben said something else actually about prevention, and I think that's just so important as well. And we're not doing enough of that, not because we don't want to, it's just about, you know, fitting it all in and giving the resource to it, and this sort of this massive task, and, you know, where do we go first? So it's really that piece about making sure we've got all parts covered. It's the prevention, it's the early identification and the restoration of people, but also then it's the transformation. That's where the coaching element comes in. And I think it was Rachel, you were mentioning there, weren't you, that you've got your kind of health coaches coming in, which is brilliant. And just thinking about, is that early? How can you get people early enough so that everyone's doing it and benefiting from those lifestyle the lifestyle medicine type stuff that makes a massive impact. You know, more and more we're understanding the importance of sleep. Do people understand what's happening during that time, and that actually literally your brain is being kind of cleared out of rubbish, which reduces your risk of dementia. You know, it reduces obviously all the other issues around being able to manage at work, being able to keep your mood high enough. You know, all these things are linked to good sleep. So just thinking about then, you know, how that translates. Obviously, they're the basic conditions. We can do all we want around well-being, but if the basic work conditions around, you know, how the shifts are being created, and when there's staff shortages, are we pulling people in too often to cover, and then that impacts their sleep, and then they go down that route of becoming unwell, you know? So how are we kind of managing those things, and helping managers to be mindful of them as well when they're supporting their teams? How are we thinking about, and I heard here already some of the stuff you're doing around sort of food and nutrition, you know, those basic things. Are there hot meals provided? We know, and obviously pay as well, big issue, and with all the strikes going on, you know, it's just huge source of stress for people. We know from the evidence base is when people feel that their organisation cares about their well-being, that in itself increases their well-being. So all the work you're doing and all the work that you're advertising is fantastic, because of course that's even just them knowing that you are doing that work for them and you're there will increase their well-being, even if they don't take part in anything. Just that very knowledge, and it's that feeling of, I guess, you know, from the psychological perspective, being cared about, you know, being sort of held in mind by their employer. Other parts of the evidence that we know really clearly is about the managers and how your line manager works with you around if you're starting to become unwell, or if you're unwell and coming back to work. So important. So what's in place for them to, it's a tough job with everything else they're doing, to make sure that they have the knowledge and the ability to support their teams and their staff in that way. So it's a lot to think about, lots of moving parts. And I don't know whether you have a kind of overall framework that you kind of check off that you've got everything covered. Do you have something like that, Lee, that you use already, or that you use as a...
In the hub, like a project plan? Yeah, so essentially what we do is any type of project, transformation project I look at, if that makes sense. But at the same time, it's kind of working backwards. So understanding the goal. So Debbie, I'm just going to mute you a second. It's just a bit loud. I've just got a bit of background noise, that's all. So what we tend to do is anytime I do it, from my perspective, is working backwards. So know the goal, know the end goal, and then put the steps in place. How are we going to reach this? And then it's a team approach. Who's involved? Who's got high priority? Who's got low priority? That sort of communications plan. But it's also linking into Maslow's hierarchy theory at the same time, and being inclusive, because communication is key, isn't it? So, but yeah, we do, but not at a proper level. It's just from my knowledge of utilising it, if that makes sense, from a transformation point of view.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful, Lee. I'm sorry about the noise. I've got
That's
stuck
okay.
somewhere outside my office, which I couldn't prevent. So,
So,
so I guess that some of this is then thinking about how do you do it in the most resource kind of way where you're using your resources to the best ability. And I guess one of those areas then is thinking about, what can you do? What do you outsource? And what do you keep in-house? And that balance. And I guess some of the ways that the reason that I'm even involved in this, I'm a consultant psychiatrist. I didn't introduce myself properly, but I'm a consultant psychiatrist at the South London and Maudsley. I've been a consultant for around 17 years now. And so I work with people at the really severe end of the spectrum in rehabilitation psychiatry, really tertiary referral, really MDT approach. We work with people very personalised way, and we move them into, greater independence, back into their lives, staying out of hospital in the community as much as we possibly can. And then I'm also an executive coach, executive life coach. And so coaching really senior leaders, often, exec medical directors, also people in the corporates, in the corporate world, and getting them to really their next levels. And that's a little bit that, was saying about how do you keep people who are really high functioning, keep them there and actually get them to be even better and support them to, I call it kind of living their genius, live your genius. How do you unlock that highest potential? Because that in itself allows people then to be more resilient. So you can flip it on its head, actually, rather than going to people who are already struggling and thinking, how do we improve your resilience? We need that too, but working with the people who are already there and keep them there. And in Southeast London, when I was leading for the then before ICSs, it was STPs, wasn't it? So I was leading for mental health then. And we found that it's only about 18%. If you think about it like a Christmas tree, 18% of the trunk are well and thriving. And then there's that big 50% who are gearing up to get ill. And then as you go up, there are the kind of higher tiers of people who are already ill, have got more than 3 long-term conditions, that kind of thing. So the more we can push down, absolutely. So I think the point is that I'm making is, how do you make sure you've got all of those different elements? One of the things that I found in my national work around wellbeing, and I've been leading for the Royal College of Psychiatrists for a number of years on something called it's called the intercollegiate mental health senate. So you've got the RCN member, you've got BASWA members, you've got all the different, paramedics, all the different disciplines working together around mental health issues for, coming together through the different colleges. And we found about 2 years before COVID, that was such a massive issue, the well-being of the workforce. We started this piece of work, and actually a lot of what the colleges have developed has started there in those initial round tables that we had. We all went away and then created what we needed for our individual disciplines. So I'm still part of that, and really, I think through what I've seen is that there's lots of good work out there, and it's just about how do you kind of pull it all together. And so what I've done is, with others and through the NHS England Clinical Entrepreneur Group, is created something called the Key Life Indicator Plan. Can you hear me? Is it? Yeah. Sorry, it's a lot. No, apologise about this. And so what that does is it provides a kind of live service. It's virtual. It can be in person as well, but mainly virtual at the moment. And that provides masterclasses. So I was really interested to hear what you were saying, Sue, about the work around developing particular training. We've done a lot of that around skilling staff up, because a lot of us the people who are working and developed it, we run leadership courses, at a very senior level. We charge a lot of money for our individual coaching. But what we want to do is democratize that and allow everybody to have access to this kind of really high caliber level of coaching. Yeah. And so the masterclasses are little different snippets, and they can be around the kinds of things that we would teach on our very senior leadership courses to the exec directors, etc. But talking about different things like conflict management. We all have a conflict style. We often don't know about it until we're actually knocking heads with somebody. If we can know about it and work from it, much as like our personality profiles, it just changes the dynamic. So we have lots of different things like that. It could be relationship management. It can be, how do you listen effectively? Lots of different skills around that. There's also group coaching, which is very powerful, because you can get people who might not even think they have an issue, but they start seeing somebody else being coached and think, gosh, that really applies to me. I'm going to actually do something proactive about this, so I can get, that is something that can be addressed successfully.
I think it's also like when you were just saying I'm just mindful that we've got a few minutes left, you see, but when you were saying there about the actual tools, the starting point, the midpoint, that sort of stuff, you could also utilize that with the staff survey results. These are coming out soon, so you could actually have a starting point of there looking into the people that are well. How do you get them before they get to that stage, to that bulk 50% aspect as well, isn't it?
I
Absolutely.
agree, but I think we need to influence the questions moving forward on the staff survey, because I don't believe that they're fit for purpose for what the needs of NHS staff, social care staff currently are. And I don't know why or who from a health and wellbeing specialist area has any sort of input or steer on what they look like. They don't tell us anything we don't know, is what I'm saying, probably.
So
we're
so
not asking
Ben,
the right
there
questions.
is no, I absolutely agree with you, Ben. And actually what that is there's somebody at NHS England on the wellbeing committee who runs the staff survey. So that would be the person to speak to about that.
So, again, we do work closely together, but we're just not sometimes included as people who are on the ground working with the staff.
Yeah, no, I know. And often that's where you need the answer. That's where the answers are, really. So yeah, being able to feed back. I think. So I guess just to come to an end, Lee, because I know you want me to finish, don't you? So I guess one of the things that there's a whole lot of other things that we do. There's an app that takes people through an assessment, goal setting, and it also allows, there's a whole academy that's there that people can access as well, of past recordings, and then lots of live sessions. So I guess it's an offer to all of you if you'd like to have a look at that. And even one of the NHS trusts we're working with, we're doing a gap analysis of what they're currently providing. And is there anything that we can do in addition to really sort of amplify and top up, particularly around that kind of very senior coaching type stuff? But, whatever's there that's useful, we're having a think with people. And we also can measure, we measure all of the kind of different elements as well, and provide a kind of HR dashboard for the outcomes of people using the services. So if any of you are interested, very happy to speak to you, very happy to think about also some complementary sessions. I don't know how much mindfulness you all have online, but if you want access to our Friday 12:30 to 1 every week mindfulness sessions, we'd love to share that. We just want to get it out there for our NHS and social care staff to benefit from. So I'll stop there.
What I'll do is, are you okay with me sharing your contact details with the group? Smashing. Well, what I'll do is
Absolutely.
I'll put all that information in the minutes, and also it'll be in the video as well, so that anybody can get in contact with you and then take up your offer at the same time. Thank you.
Fantastically.
No, but it is. Thank you very much, everyone. I really appreciate you coming. Keely, do you want to speak?
It was I was supposed to put an emoji, but I put a hand up instead. No, it was a heart. So yeah,
no
thank
worries.
you.
I saw your face. That's fine. No worries. Right, thanks everyone. I know we're a minute over, so I do apologise. Have yourself a great day and have a lovely weekend when it comes. Ben, do you have